Hey everyone, welcome to an Advanced Sports Analytics live stream. Today is Monday, July 26th. I'm joined today by Gus, the top right, Sportsmanac, and Charles, at the bottom part of the screen, to talk through tonight's seven-game SuperDraft slate. It's a Monday, short slate. I think there's even one team, the Mets game, I believe, Mets Atlanta maybe, has a doubleheader, so they're not even on the slate. So yeah, just a seven game slate. We'll try to keep it pretty tight. Exciting news around the league today. Eloy Jimenez expected to return from the IL for Chicago. So that's going to be a pretty strong team, I think, to contend with for the rest of the season. Currently, I don't believe Jimenez is in our projections, but will be added. He might be in DraftKings and FanDuel projections, but we're adding him to our SuperDraft player pool, so we'll have Jimenez in before lock tonight, and should be updating here pretty soon in the next half hour. Charles, Gus, how are you guys doing today?
Good, well, thank you.
Nice. Well, yeah, 7-game slate. As usual, we'll have the strategy article up on the SuperDraft strategy site, which Charles worked on today, highlighting some of his preferred hitters to stack, some stacks to avoid, and pitchers to target. And encourage you guys to check that out. Good information with regards to some of the players that he's high on, as well as a sample of projections for some of the top plays, both among hitters and pitchers on the slate. All that stuff free to access, really good information to use as you're setting lineups on SuperDraft. So let's dive into the slate using the ASA optimizer. We can look through some projections. So I'll start with you, Charles. Maybe talk to me about the pitchers that are standing out to you that you kind of highlighted in the article this evening.
Yeah, so I mean, starting at the top from the value perspective, guys, Luis Garcia, the starting pitcher for the Astros tonight, on a 1.95x multiplier. It's just tremendous value. I mean, if you look at the season he's having, he started with a 0-3 record in the month of April on like relatively decent pitching, and no run support, but the past 3 months he's been absurd. 7-2 since then. Over 100 strikeouts, 2.86 ERA, 1.06 WHIP. Even stronger past few starts, coming off against 6 innings, 3 hits, and no earned, and 8 strikeouts against the Indians on the 20th. I mean, the numbers he has and the offense he's pitching behind, this 1.95x multiplier is, I mean, I think it's significantly the best pitcher on the slate tonight. And yeah, he gets a Mariners team that's not like incredible offensively. So I'd start there tonight. And then moving on, our projections give Nick Pivetta like the next highest margin kind of before a little drop off. Going for the Red Sox tonight against, a dangerous Toronto Blue Jays team. With that said, it's one of the better matchups on the card. I mean, there's not a ton of great pitching tonight from a value perspective. So Pivetta's got an 8-4 record. He's pitching beyond a strong Red Sox offense. 4.37 ERA, 117 strikeouts. I mean, he can really fill a box score, and if they can get the win tonight, he'll have a ton of value. So, yeah, I mean, kind of chalky from our projections in terms of value, guys, but those are the two I'm all over tonight.
Yeah, Garcia seems like a slam dunk. I mean, we have been high on him. I think the past couple shows we've done. I mean, phenomenal whiff numbers. Pretty much, if you look at the slate and sort players by whiff rate allowed over the last 2 years, or just pitchers, pitching today, the highest whiff rate is Kyle Muller. So not on the slate. He's the Braves starter in the early game. Shohei Ohtani, who is on the slate but has a 1.05x multiplier. Is just such an insanely low multiplier. It almost seems like that's maybe like the multiplier from him as a hitter. So I don't really think Ohtani's in play. And then you get to Garcia. So like, at least in my mind, he has the highest whiff rate among pitchers that are playable tonight for the main slate. And on top of that, I mean, it's just been exceptional at limiting good contact when he does give contact, or when he does allow contact, given that exceptionally low whiff rate. So I like Garcia a lot, and I think Seattle's a good matchup. They hit the ball hard, it seems like, when they do put it in play, but also there's a lot of swing and miss hitters on that Seattle lineup. I do think it gets tricky though when you kind of trying to decide on your second pitcher, as you alluded to. Like, Nick Pivetta doesn't feel super comfortable, but or he doesn't feel comfortable at all, really. But going up against Toronto, great offense, playing in Fenway, which is a pretty good hitter's park. But Boston does have the edge from a Vegas standpoint. A win would be super valuable for Pivetta. He does have strong strikeout upside. He just gives up kind of hard contact, but I mean, there's just not like a ton of great options on the slate, right? Like Marquez is priced aggressively at 1.5x. We talked about Ohtani, who projects as the strongest raw projection on the slate, but at 1.05, it's just really hard to get too excited about him. Hendricks, I think, is priced pretty aggressively going up against a good Cincinnati offense. Miley, we have a strong projection on, and I think doesn't have great strikeout upside, but has a pretty decent matchup. Chicago has been strikeout prone and not the most productive offense. 1.8. He's got good numbers on the year. Certainly is strong in like limiting good contact, even though his whiff numbers are really very, very low. So like Miley, I guess, could be a high floor but low ceiling guy. What do you think, Gus, about these? Outside of Garcia, how are you handling, I guess, uncomfortable decisions to be made around guys like Pivetta? Pineda is never like someone that we're super confident in, and then guys that maybe garner good confidence from like a raw standpoint, but like I don't know. To me, Marquez and say Hendricks just have really hard multipliers to get around. How are you kind of approaching this? I think it's a tough decision to make for kind of second pitcher,
Yeah, I mean, your first pitcher has to be Garcia, no doubt. I mean, that is just an insanely high multiplier, a great win probability. Houston should be able to get the W in Seattle. Seattle, for the last 30 days, they rank actually 7th most strikeouts over 22 games, 211 strikeouts. OPS of .682, one of the lowest. So I do think Garcia is just given. Yeah, I mean, of course, you do have to worry about, like you have someone like Darvish, who had a nice matchup yesterday, but did give up quite a few homers. So yeah, I mean, you always run that risk. For the second pitcher, I kind of would want to lean towards Ohtani if you don't want to take the risk with Pivetta. I do think that 1.5x almost seems like a typo. Maybe that was the batter multiplier as a pitcher, but still, nonetheless, Colorado is awful on the road. I mean, if you do want to play it safe, if you're doing a cash game, I think Ohtani could be a great option. If you do consider Colorado's road numbers, I mean, just the home away splits, 0.799 OPS at home, 0.588 OPS on the road. And then they have 427 strikeouts on the road, 392 at home, but 300 less plate appearances on the road. So if you do the math, the ratio, they whiff a lot on the road. So I do think Ohtani would do you well. But I like Pivetta. I think the 1.95x could be a nice balance, can make up for whatever raw points you don't get from Pivetta as opposed to Ohtani. Toronto's not as good at home as they are. They're not as good on the road as they are at home. Their OPS drops by about 100. The whiff rate is higher. So, and again, I think the win probably does work in Pivetta's favor. So outside of those three, I think it's really a tough call. I mean, perhaps you could go with Miley. The Cubs have struggled like Seattle. They do strike out a lot. Their OPS is below 700 over the last 30 days. But, you could just wind up like a 6-inning, 2-strikeout game, which wouldn't be great if Ohtani gets you 10 Ks over 6 innings, or Pavetta puts up, with the multiplier, makes up for it. So I think just those are going to be Garcia for sure, and you flip a coin between Pavetta and Ohtani. If you're feeling risky, go Pavetta. If you want to play it safe, go Ohtani.
Yeah. The one thing about these high multiplier guys is they're great when they can generate positive fantasy points, but like nothing worse than getting a high multiplier pitcher with negative fantasy points. I mean, for tournament purposes, low or high multiplier, if you're getting negative points, you're kind of sunk. But for cash game purposes, I feel like you could kind of escape, like say Ohtani negative game. But if you're doubling your negative points on say Pavetta, that's going to be pretty painful for cash for sure. And I don't think it's out of the range of possibilities given how electric Toronto's offense is. All right, moving along to batters, as you do kind of every day, Charles, with the article, you try to highlight one stack that you really like and one stack to give a full fade. And I think Gus kind of alluded to that fade in Colorado. Just tough to be super excited about them on the road. But talk to me, about what stacks you like as actually targeting on this slate, because there is kind of a dearth of really quality pitching. So good opportunity, I think, for some offense to really shine through tonight.
Yeah. So I mean, from our lineup stacks, we see like Boston, Detroit, Houston in the top, and I was having a hard time kind of picking off which I love there. I went with the Detroit Tigers stack, and I hope that in this shorter slate you're going to get a lot of Boston and Houston exposure, and kind of fading that consensus might be helpful. The Tigers are coming off of getting swept this weekend from the Royals after they were, red hot and playing really well. I think it's a good bounce back spot for them. The Twins have Pineda on the hill tonight, who, despite kind of coming in higher in our projections, he's been battling injuries, kind of looked really, really sluggish the past few months. 7.94 ERA in June, 5.23 ERA in July. And the top of this Tigers stack has such upside. I'm looking at Akil Baddoo and the 1.85x multiplier in the one spot, Grossman 1.65x, and Candelario at 1.7x, kind of to build the base of that stack around. These guys are all having pretty solid years, and as I alluded to, it could be a real bounce back spot here. I think this is a better team than that sweep, and we'll see if they can get to like 500 baseball. But I like them tonight, and if they can get past Pineda, if he has one of those blow up starts that he can have, you got a bit of a weaker bullpen, and I think you could get out of hand potentially.
Yeah. One thing to call out from that article, since the article was published, Detroit has confirmed their lineup, and they are not starting Grossman tonight. It looks like they're going to go with Derek Hill in center field over Grossman. So, keep in mind that as you're reading through, these articles that, they get published at a certain time. Teams confirm their lineups at a certain time. So if you are going to stack up Detroit, you might have to go kind of find a sub for Grossman as prescribed in the article. But I think you do have some strong options with Cabrera, Haas, even at 1.7. Be interesting, if you. I don't know much about Derek Hill, but we've got a decent projection on him, so you could do some sort of wraparound stack with like Hill, Baddoo, Cabrera or something like that. So I think, I think it projects as kind of a tight stack. Like there's not a ton of flexibility. There's very clearly some guys that we want to target, and a handful of guys like Scope at 1.15 that we just don't want to target. But I think there's some good value to be had there at the top with some of those high multiplier guys. Gus, as you look through some of the top projected teams as kind of an aggregate lineup, and also some of the top projected players individually, are there any kind of alternate stacks that are standing out to you as particularly strong value?
Yeah, definitely. I like the Washington Nationals. For the last 30 days, they've been one of the best offenses. They have cooled down some, especially against Baltimore. So I think people will be a bit gun shy to take Washington. But nonetheless, they've been outstanding the last 30 days, even the last 15 days. They've been they have great OPS numbers. They happen to be going against young pitcher Spencer Howard. Looking at some of his minor league numbers and college numbers, gives up a lot of walks. Actually, 17 walks over 24 innings this year with the Phillies. But prior to that, never been known to be much of a control guy, and when it comes to the bases and balls. So, yes, you don't quite have the great multipliers with Turner and Soto, but I mean they have gone bonkers over the last 4 weeks or so. And you could probably throw in someone like, if you use the StatCast app, Tres Barrera has a pretty good ISO and barrel rate if you want to get kind of sneaky there. Josh Bell, I'm a little surprised to see him at 1x. A little curious why that might be. It's actually been priced up in other DFS sites, so maybe there's something they know we don't know. Josh Harrison could be another interesting play. And going back to Detroit, I mean, they did a lot of people wrong yesterday, but hopefully they'll come back. They've been a great offense the last 15 days, and again, they do have a very good matchup. I do like Eric Haas, great barrel rate. If no Grossman, obviously you mentioned, but Haas had a fantastic barrel rate, one of the best in that matchup. And but we split it both by right and left-handedness on the StatCast app on the SA site, and they're almost identical. So it's not like he's just really good against a certain type of handedness pitcher. Like he can do it against any kind of pitcher. So I have faith in Detroit, have faith in Washington. They fell flat yesterday, but I think both those stacks are going to be very viable for today.
Yeah, and we touched on it, I think, in the last Detroit game. Weather is setting up great in Kansas City. In Minnesota. Nonetheless, similar part of the country. I mean, 92 degrees, wind expected to blow 12 miles per hour out. Like you said, Pineda, great matchup. The total on that game I'm seeing currently as at 10. I'm a little surprised that it's that low given kind of the two pitchers, given the weather. And the Vegas seems to be giving the edge to Minnesota, even though they just lost Nelson Cruz. But I think it sets up for a pretty good spot for Detroit. And I also don't think you can go wrong. Just kind of following Vegas. I mean, the high total on the slate is Boston Toronto, 11 runs. Boston minus 142 favorites. We like that stack a good bit. I expect though it will be one of the more popular, maybe the most popular stack. We're super high on Jarren Duran. I don't know that much about him. I know Boston called him up recently, but at 2x, confirmed, I believe, to be batting second right in front of that kind of prolific duo in the middle of Martinez and Devers. Verdugo, I think, is really solid. So I think there's a lot of optionality you can take with Boston. We've got a strong projection on them, and I just expect them to be really popular. I mean, I would just say like Duran, Hernandez, JT, and Devers at 1x, but I mean, JD. But I would say like the stack of say Hernandez, Duran, and one of Martinez or Devers kind of builds itself. So I mean, it's going to be one of the chalkier ones, but you could do something small like say Kike and Duran, and then go with your kind of larger stack with like a less chalky team like Detroit or Washington. So I think that that could be a good way to go. Great. Well, I've got no further. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Specific one-off players that you are super high on that we didn't kind of mention as part of some of these stacked lineups?
Not really. I mean, we don't really have the. Besides for Ohtani as a batter, but actually, I mean, is he available as a batter on this slate? I didn't check.
I think in the past, SuperDraft has made him available in one or the other. Yeah, okay, he's not available as a batter.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I mean, that'd be kind of interesting. Modern day Babe Ruth. But yeah, you don't really have too many of the big names. So it's really. There are the Braves, but I don't like taking pictures in the Met Stadium. Toy place at.
They're not on the main slate because they have.
Oh, you're right.
They're
100%
they're part of
doubleheader.
that doubleheader. So
Yeah. Then besides for that, then I don't really see any. I mean, Houston's been kind of flat lately. Colorado's outside of the Rockies. I mean, I do like the Blue Jays, but not so much when on the road. Again, you're not really seeing the big names, so it's I would say just find the good stacks and the great matchups, and that's kind of the best way I think to roll with tonight's slate.
Yeah, I will say, like, with the Blue Jays, while we don't I guess love them as a team, we really like Bichette, and then kind of flat after that. Like, if Pivetta is going to be popular on the short slate, like, I do think a good kind of game theory approach is to, yeah, exactly. Like, if in lineups that you don't have Pivetta, if you take, like, say Bo Bichette or Vlad, or even like Teoscar, but really like Bichette or Vlad would be the guys that stand out. If Bichette, let's say Bichette hits a home run, or Vlad hits a home run and drives in Bichette, something like that, not only are you getting just a ton of value from the home run that those guys hit, but you're also gaining so much, like Gus said, kind of leveraged value against the many lineups that could potentially have Pivetta. So I do think that that's kind of one good thing to call out. So yeah, if you're using an optimizer building tournament lineups, definitely making sure you are setting rules so that whenever you have Pivetta, you don't have say Bichette or Guerrero. I think it's generally a good rule. I mean, of course, like Pivetta could pitch great, Bichette could hit a grand slam off the closer or something. But in general, I think trying to avoid rostering hitters across from pitchers in tournament lineups is probably a good strategy. All right, great. Well, good luck to everyone tonight playing on SuperDraft. We will be back Tuesday or Wednesday. I think we will do. Well, actually, I didn't. If we'll do a Olympics golf pod, I think, to just see if. But I didn't see a PGA contest for SuperDraft this week. So if that's something that gets added, we'll be back either Tuesday or Wednesday to cover that. If not, then we'll replace that midweek show with an MLB show of sorts. So yeah, good luck to everyone tonight. Good luck to you too. And we'll be back later this week with more SuperDraft stuff.